Polacy, to się dzieje naprawdę. Ja, Kamil Buddent, właśnie odpaliłem znowu dostęp dla wszystkich do mojej apki, w której każdy z Was może wygrywać od 10 000 złotych każdego dnia. Tak, dobrze przeczytaliście. To nie żadna loteria, nie konkursik, nie ściema, tylko prawdziwe, grube pieniądze, które codziennie lądują na kontach zwykłych Polaków. Jak to działa? Pobierasz apkę, rejestrujesz się w 30 sekund, grasz i wygrywasz. Każdego dnia ktoś z Was zgarnia minimum 1000 złotych, a często nawet 50 000 złotych i więcej. Ja już wrzuciłem tam pierwsze miliony złotych z własnej kieszeni, żebyście mieli za co grać i co wygrywać. Klikajcie w link poniżej i jesteście w grze. Nie czekajcie, bo jutro ktoś inny zabierze wasze 10 000 złotych.
Hi everyone, it's Kino here. Welcome to this Ashtanga build-up class. We're going to look at building up Kurmasana and Supta Kurmasana. This is kind of a really peak gateway pose of the Ashtanga Yoga primary series. Very difficult, very challenging. So you want to go slowly and not force or rush your body. The tortoise pose means to make the back strong like a tortoise and also to recruit a little bit of hyper hip flexion in both the parallel and also the external rotation position. There's a lot going on in this asana. So first, let's look at how to adapt the asana, because I think that's really important. If you feel that it's just completely inaccessible, what are some tools that will allow you to actually adapt the pose? So let's start off there. From a seated position, I want you to bend your knees, and then just sit with kind of an open knee bend and the feet flexed. And so this is our kind of first option when we're working with Kurmasana. We want to press a little into the heels, and then when you exhale, you take the hands down and reach the kind of right angle of the thumb and the index finger behind the heel. When the elbows touch the ground, you know that you might be able to go just a little bit deeper in your forward fold element. But so this is an option. This itself can be a good variation of Kurmasana. So if you're encountering any shoulder issues, pressure in your collarbone, even too much pressure in the lower back, either with the straight elbows if we're looking to brace and support, or with the bent elbows if we're looking to try to stretch and go a little bit deeper, we can use this as an adaptation of Kurmasana. If this is our Kurmasana variation, then our Supta Kurmasana variation is going to bring the feet together with the soles of the feet pointed open, and then the hands can go underneath the ankle bone, so we can make sure that the ankle bone doesn't feel too much pressure, keeping the elbows in between, and then we'll round the back and aim the forehead to the heels. And so we're still getting that kurma back, meaning the tortoise back, where the back is slightly rounded. I would inhale and bringing it up, and then exhale. We've completed our variation of Kurmasana and Supta Kurmasana. Let's look at some other versions. So perhaps the most important thing to think about when we are progressing from this variation into a more flattened variation of the asana is to not bring the legs too wide apart. There's a lot of people that try to do this asana here, and then this can put a lot of pressure on the inner thighs and even on the back. So instead, we want to think about trying to have the feet not too much wider than your yoga mat apart. You can start off with the heels on the outer edges of the mat, and then once your elbows are comfortably on the ground, then we can explore actually entering the Supta Kurmasana position, or the Kurmasana position. Many students will just take their hands back, and that's fine. However, sometimes the shoulder doesn't really descend deep enough. So you could try to lift your hip off the ground and bring one hand back and then drop that shoulder like you're scooping the shoulder underneath. Then squeeze the knee onto that shoulder. Lean over to the other side, scoop the shoulder under, and then you've gotten yourself a little bit deeper down. Now try not to let the knees move into external rotation, so don't let them point out. Keep them snuggled onto the shoulders and press back, and then you'll slowly find the way to stretch the back to come down. And so this is our Kurmasana variation. So this is a more classical variation of the asana, and we want to think about reaching the chin towards the ground or the chest towards the ground. Some of you will have your foreheads more to the ground. That's okay. If you're able to be here, you could also explore lifting the heels. All right, now to come out of the asana, we can go over the same thing. We can lean to one side, lean to the other side, and then observe. There's been quite a lot of pressure on the back, and that's part of the kurma experience. The whole Kurmasana experience is actually to get that feeling of how can I stabilize the back in this position. It's a deep stretch, but it's also a deep strengthening. So now let's look at the Supta Kurmasana. So if you're by yourself and you don't have a teacher to help you, sometimes using a block and a strap can be really beneficial when transitioning from Kurmasana to Supta Kurmasana. So you can take the strap and get it in place. You can place the feet up on the block. I'm going to make the block actually a little higher because sometimes you actually need a little higher position of the feet so that the torso can slide better between. You want to have that strap handy and in a good position. So I'm going to get the strap over on the side of the body. Now the first test here is, are you comfortable in this position? If not, then maybe even just bending a little forward from here is enough. Our second movement will be, can the hands hold onto the block? And then can the head touch the feet? The head can touch the feet, it's great, but we don't want to be involving the arms if this is as far as you're going to get. Then the next question to ask is, can the head snuggle itself all the way under the feet, right? And if that's the case, you might be prepared now to look at what the hands want to do. So you want to take the shoulders an internal rotation, and then thinking about the hands reaching for each other around the back. We'll use the strap so it won't place that much pressure on the collarbone and also on the demand of the shoulders. So when you go down, you can't just reach around from here. We're going to lift, slide, put it down, lift. It's a little more tricky on this side. Slide, put it down. Reach the head under, find that strap, and then you have to do a little lasso action, and then we'll hold the hands. We're giving a little pressure back, so the shoulders press back, and the feet, and you can see the feet are really close to being behind the head. You could cross your toes or reach the heels towards each other. This is a good way to work on the posture. Let's release and bring the hands through and come on in. All right, there's a little descent. I hope you could still hear me when I was in the sleeping tortoise position. So we got to wake that tortoise up. Now, let's bring the feet off. So we usually take back our legs to Bakasana position after that. So let's look at that. How do we take back our legs to Bakasana position? Well, if your feet were here, this also meant that the shoulders are still under the calf muscle. So when you're in this position, we want to think about pitching the shoulders forward and little down as the hips move back and up. And you can use your feet to catch you. So we just come forward and little down. Now, if you've been practicing primary series, you know that this looks very much like our previous pose, the one that precedes this, which is Bhuja Pidasana. And the shoulders nice and strong. Then, you're going to take one leg back. You're going to take the other leg back. And we try to immediately take back the legs, Bakasana. If you didn't jump back, you can touch the toes to the ground. You can jump back. If you don't like your Bakasana, you can reset up. But I'd recommend you try to just hold yourself here. Shoot the legs back. Find your plank, and then Chaturanga. When you inhale upward facing, after all those forward folds, sometimes your back needs a moment. So you can just let it be there for a moment. And then exhale, downward facing. All right, let's come on forward. And then return to seated. I hope you found this in-depth look at the ways to work Kurmasana, Supta Kurmasana beneficial. Of course, practicing with a teacher and getting assisted in this asana is a wonderful way to really progress in the classical methodology. But finding ways to work on your own, understanding that your body often needs its own time to kind of find its own path into every asana is very important. So keep practicing. If you want to go deeper into the Ashtanga Yoga method, come on over to omstars.com where you can get some live interactive support for your Ashtanga Yoga journey. I'd love to see you there. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into Kurmasana and Supta Kurmasana. I hope you found it beneficial for your practice. May you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be filled with love.